Welcome back to Gem and Cozy, everyone. I am so jet lagged, but I woke up for work, and I think that is the best way to combat the jet lag because I have a schedule to follow. So I spent the weekend recovering and just sleeping, and I was definitely still in Tokyo time. I slept at 4 a.m. 2 nights in a row, and I kept waking up at like 4 p.m. and so I would have like 2 hours of daylight and then it would be dark, which was super confusing. And then daylight savings happened yesterday and I was like, wow, I am just screwed. But I had to wake up for work today and set my alarm. Only slept for 3 hours, but I think this will actually help me in the long run. So hopefully the caffeine will help me get through the next few hours at least, and I'll go from there. I have so much footage from my trip, so I wanted to start to share things with you guys little by little, and I really just didn't know where to start, especially because I recorded as much as I could, but without feeling like awkward about filming in public. And since I don't really record myself doing things, a lot of it is just food and clips of things that I found interesting. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about some of the things that I thought were surprising about Japan, or things that I also think would be helpful for first-time travelers to Japan. So it's like more of the tips that you don't really see on social media and the things that are helpful to know that I discovered once I got there. So this was my second trip to Japan, but my first one was back in 2017. So it's been a while and a lot has changed since then. So it kind of felt like a brand new experience in a way, and I have so much to share with you guys. So I spent a week in the Tokyo area and I stayed in Shinjuku. I did not travel like further out. I know a lot of people love to go to Kyoto or Osaka, which is further south, but for this trip we decided to just focus on the Tokyo area because there are so many cities and so many things to do, and we wanted to save time on travel. So that's why we committed to just Tokyo. But if the trip was longer, we would have definitely built in the travel time to go to some other cities. That part is up to you, but that will just give you a little more context about what our trip looked like. It is really easy to get around Tokyo because they have an amazing subway train system. So you can get anywhere from like the airport to all the major cities with really 1 or 2 trains. Most of the train rides were close to like 200 yen, maybe like 230. Some may be more expensive if you try to like catch like a faster train or one of those like special reserve trains, but for the most part everything's around 200 yen, which is very, very cheap because right now the conversion rate with USD is like 150 yen is $1. So that's an awesome way to get around, and it's fast, it's efficient. I always felt like there is something for everyone in Japan. There's good food, there's good nature, they have beautiful gardens, they have a lot of really fun character anime culture, like everything from Sanrio to, you know, manga. So I feel like there's something for everyone in Japan, and I honestly could just enjoy a week there roaming around and eating. So that was a huge pull for me. The first thing I noticed is that a lot of breakfast places such as cafes and bakeries as well as restaurants opened later in the day than I would expect compared to the US. Most coffee places and cafes are open at like 7 so that it helps people grab coffee before work. But I noticed in Japan, almost all of the restaurants opened around 10 or 11, especially the bakeries, which really limited our options for breakfast. And that made it easier for us to just like stop by a convenience store like 7-Eleven to just grab a few snacks, like grab an onigiri or an egg sandwich and then get going. It's really good to start the mornings early in Japan because one, it's less crowded, and two, if you're gonna be jet lagged, you might as well be out exploring. So it works out really well because the train stations are emptier, it's quieter, and it gives you more time to get to your first location. So something that a lot of people like to do is to check out the shrines because they're open early and it's emptier then, and then you can check out the shrines or the temples that you have seen or maybe been interested in, and then you can go like do more of the restaurant or city stuff because things will open later. Number two, a lot of people used to get this thing called the JR Pass to get around on all the trains because you pay like one flat rate to have access to as many train rides as you'd like within a certain amount of time. But now, unless you're traveling to a lot of places, like I'm talking a lot, it's not worth it to get the JR Pass. So just make sure to do the math in case you want to know if it's going to work for your travel plans. But we didn't spend like anywhere near the amount to equal like getting the JR Pass, even though we were on the train every day. So just keep that in mind. It used to be a much better price years ago, but now it's like tripled in price and it's honestly not worth it for most people. But you can kind of just do the math and think about how often you think you're going to be on a train on a given day. For us, we typically were on the train at max like 4 times a day because we were usually going to like one city and then exploring that area, maybe going to another neighboring area before going home. But we weren't really hopping on and off like 6 times a day or anything like that. It's actually more walking than anything else, so just keep that in mind. It is a lot of walking. Japan is just a ton of walking. The way it's laid out, like when you're exploring and shopping, you will easily walk 20,000 steps per day. I think the highest day we had was like 28,000. It's exhausting. There's a lot of stairs, especially with the train system, but that's just what Japan is like. So make sure to wear comfortable shoes. Wear the clunky clown shoes like me if you really want to stay comfortable. Another thing that I highly recommend that you get if you're using the trains is to get a Suica card. There are different kinds, but when we got there and we asked about that, you can pay for one that doesn't expire for like 10 years, but you have to pay 500 yen to purchase the card. And then there's another version that's a welcome Suica card, which is the one we got. And that one only lasts 28 days. And basically it's a card that you just load money to, and you can use that to tap in and out of the train station rather than buying individual train tickets every single time you're at the train. So I know there's an app for it, and I believe it's only for Apple. I don't think Android had it, but I think the Apple did. So we got the welcome Suica cards and then loaded money to it. And then after you load money on it the first time you purchase it, you can add more, but it has to be cash. And the great thing is there are so many ATMs like all over the place in convenience stores, at 7-Elevens. So we would just withdraw from the ATMs and then put money directly into the Suica as we needed. And we didn't want to put too much in it since at the end of the trip we knew that anything left over on there would be lost money. The great thing about it is that you can also use that card at a lot of restaurants and shops. So I think we had a little bit left on both of our cards at the very end of our trip. And when we were at the airport, all of the workers knew that people were trying to use the leftover money in it. So they actually helped us just spend it all. And we were able to use whatever was left over in one transaction, paying with the Suica card balance first and then the leftover with my credit card. So it worked out great. Don't worry too much about the leftover in there. Just don't add so much that you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? We just started with 2,000 yen on it, and then once we ran out, we added more little by little. So it worked out great, and it saves so much time because you can just tap in and out of the stalls at the train station, the entrance and the exit, and no more standing in line at the ticket booth trying to get tickets, because those areas get very congested and very busy. Japan is a really clean country, so they don't really have trash cans out and about. So something I recommend is to have a backpack with you so that you can carry around like a little plastic bag, and that way when you accumulate trash you can put the wrappers and the bottles in there, and then you can throw it away at the end of the day. If you're eating at like a convenience store, you're not really supposed to walk and eat because that's kind of looked down upon in Japanese culture. So we always ate right outside of the convenience store, and they had a trash can inside for the customers. So a lot of times we were able to just eat and then toss our wrappers in the store. They designed it really well, but if for whatever reason you don't find a trash can, just know that it's very uncommon to find public trash cans in Japan, so you're gonna have to carry it around. We also brought water bottles, and luckily our hotel would provide us water bottles daily and had a fountain for us to refill the bottles with. But overall, it's just hard to find like water fountains or water refilling stations. And so don't bank on those. You may just have to buy drinks as you go. The good news is the convenience stores are so affordable. The snacks and the drinks are all $1 or $2. There's so many varieties, and it's really fun to try out everything. So have fun with that. Just make sure to keep the country clean and, you know, just try to follow their customs. Another tip is to make sure you bring some kind of coin purse, because you are going to end up with a lot of change once you start spending cash, and it's really annoying for all of it to just be like jingling in your pockets and you not being able to find it when you need it. So I highly recommend some kind of little coin purse. And another good tip is that if you're trying to get rid of your coins, when you're at the self-checkouts at the convenience stores like 7-Eleven, there's a little section where you can just drop all your coins. So that's a good way to start using them, because a lot of times I wouldn't use it because it was just kind of time consuming to sort through it and figure out if I had enough at the counter. But the self-checkout was a great way to just toss all your coins in and get rid of them. Yay, we're almost done with this box. Everything printed pretty well. I only had a few grade B's. I have so many sticky notes to go through, so this is the perfect time for me to just quality check everything and chat with you guys about it all. So I got this one comment from one of my followers saying that they really want to go to Japan, but they are afraid of the language barrier since they can't speak Japanese. It's really easy to get around Japan without speaking Japanese, especially if you're in the city, because Google Translate is your friend. And a lot of signs like at the train station are in English. All of the train workers that I spoke to were able to help me in English for the most part. Their English may not be perfect, but they know enough to be able to like give you directions if you're trying to find a specific train or you have questions. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. The few times that I needed Google Translate, it was very helpful. I would just type out everything on my screen and then show it to them, and they were able to kind of help me. And another thing is, I noticed that tourism has just blown up in Japan, and the amount of foreign workers in Japan now who speak English was significantly higher than the first time I went in 2017. So I noticed that a lot of the workers at 7-Eleven and at like the airport and the tourist centers, everything like that, a lot of them spoke a decent amount of English. So if that's any comfort to you, don't feel held back from visiting just because of the language barrier. I don't speak Japanese either, and believe me, it was fine. If you're trying to figure out a data plan for your trip, we got pocket Wi-Fi. There are a few companies, but the one we used was called Ninja Wi-Fi, and it worked out really well. We just paid for it online through their website, and they charge per day. They have different plans depending on your needs, and I noticed that a lot of times they have discount codes, so make sure to just quickly Google one, because we got 20% off, and I think we paid like $40 for 6 days. It was pretty inexpensive because you could share that with your group, so you just have to carry it around with you, and it's just a small little, you know, kind of like carrying a second phone. We just had it in our backpack, and you have to remember to charge it, but other than that, it was really easy to use, and you can pick it up at the airport, which was really convenient. So right after we landed, we were able to go pick it up as scheduled, and when we were ending our trip and we were back at the airport, we just dropped it off at the same center, but you can pick and choose like where you want to drop it off. So they have a few options, and it was super convenient and worked really well. We had no issues, and just having data like in a foreign country is really, really helpful, because we used a lot of GPS and Google Translate, so that really helped. A lot of people end up buying a lot of souvenirs, things like skincare and collectibles. They just have so many fun trinkets, stationery, everything under the sun. So I knew I was gonna buy some stuff, but I didn't bring a bigger suitcase. I just brought a standard like carry-on sized rolling luggage bag, and what we ended up doing was emptying out my bag and splitting up like my clothes into my backpack and my boyfriend's luggage, so that we could make room for all the souvenirs and gifts that we ended up getting. We ended up getting a lot of snacks like chocolates, gummies, that kind of stuff. So we ended up with many big bags of them. So if you know in advance you're going to buy a lot of stuff, you probably want to bring a bigger bag. Another thing is, make sure that you know if there is tax-free shopping wherever you're going. So you can actually go to a separate counter when you're checking out if you spend over whatever minimum the store has. It's usually around like 5,000 yen. So if you end up spending more than that and the store offers the duty-free, like the tax-free for foreigners, you can go to a different counter and they'll take the tax off for you so that you don't have to pay that, which is really convenient. But you do have to plan a little bit ahead, because let's say you're going into a store and you're kind of like, I want to browse, but maybe I don't want to commit right away. You probably want to try to spend that 5,000 if you plan on it, or if you're close to it, together, so that you can get that tax off in one hit, if that makes sense. Because I went into a few stores and I bought little things here and there, and I realized later, oh, I would have gotten to the 5K if I just paid for it all together. But that's up to you. Like sometimes that's more energy to have to plan. But I definitely did this for Don Quixote because I planned on getting all of my skincare products there and a lot of my gifts and souvenirs. So you have to go to like the top floor where they have a tax-free counter. There are signs everywhere, and they will specifically package everything up for you in these bags that say that it's gone through like the tax procedure. They need your passport also, so I would just keep your passport with you whenever you're traveling, because if you end up needing that tax-free thing, you're not going to be able to qualify for it unless you have your passport with you. So I didn't know that at first, and I didn't have it on me, and then I was like, oh, so I did end up paying for some things and just paid the tax. But on the second half of the trip, I carried it around and it was very helpful. Another thing is, if you do shop at Donkey, make sure that you use their discount code, because they have a 5% and a 7% off, and it's super easy to find. Their register actually said like, you need to present the discount code with your passport, and I was really surprised because that means they're promoting the discount. So I looked it up and it was so easy to find, and all they do is just like scan it for you because there's a barcode, and you'll get an additional discount on it, which is awesome since you're already buying enough to get the taxes removed. So that was a nice perk as well. And this set is done. So here is what the welcome Suica cards look like, and I was also so excited to get to keep it since one, I didn't have to pay anything for it, and two, the design on it is super cute. So this lasts, let's see, so as you can see, the expiration date comes up pretty quickly, and the card balance limit is 20,000 yen. So that's a max you can put in at a time. That worked out really well, and I got to keep it. If you're in Japan more frequently, then the other card might be better, the standard Suica, because you can keep it and the value in it doesn't expire in like 28 days like this one. But for our needs, this was perfect. Another fun thing I really wanted to share is that there are really fun stamps across all of the train stations, at the shrines and temples, some of the visitor centers, and some other random places. These are called Eki stamps, and they were so fun to collect. I highly recommend that you bring some kind of notebook that's about the size of a passport book. All the stamps are roughly like between these sizes. None of them are bigger than this one, so if you have a passport size book, you can collect the stamps as you go. Almost every single train station exit had it, and some stations that are bigger have multiple stamps in different locations. So it turns into a really fun scavenger hunt if you like this kind of thing, and I'm planning on using them in my travel junk journal scrapbook stuff. So I ended up collecting a lot of stamps. I'm gonna make an entire separate video on all the tips and tricks that I learned on where to collect them and how to collect them. So if you guys are interested in that, just make sure to bring some paper or some kind of notebook. You can buy one in Japan, but I really regretted not bringing one with me because the first few stamps I had to just ask them for paper, and not all the stations have paper, so you might not even be able to collect the stamp if they don't offer the paper. And I had them on like random sheets of paper, and then eventually got a little notebook, but then I didn't get like one that flips like a passport book, so I was just full of regrets. I didn't think I was going to find this many stamps, and I did. So if you're into this, definitely bring some kind of notebook. I just opened my last box of sticky notes that arrived, and oh my gosh, this is a hot mess, but look at all the ducks. So this is gonna be the last one that I go through while chatting with you guys. So one of the other things I really wanted to share was about shopping. I noticed that there are so many great shopping malls and restaurants that are in the train stations, like especially Tokyo and so many other ones. They have a lot of underground layouts where big department malls and restaurants are conjoined and connected to the train station systems. So it's really fun to explore those areas, and oftentimes you can find some really good food without even leaving the station. So I highly recommend exploring some of that. We were able to find a lot of grocery stores and like souvenirs, random things at a lot of these stations, and it was really fun just kind of coming across them unexpectedly. We really enjoyed the one in Tokyo because they have a ramen street, which is basically just like a little area of a bunch of different ramen restaurants. They even have a banner that explains the different types of ramen offered at each restaurant, and that was really fun and special. The one in Tokyo Station also had a lot of character kind of cafes as well as stores. Like they had a Miyazaki one, a Kirby cafe. They had so many anime ones. I'm not like a huge anime fan, so I don't know all of them, but there were so many. So I think that you could easily spend several hours there just looking around, and I think a lot of people might miss it because they just aren't really thinking of shopping within a train station. They even have a Pokemon center. It was super fun, so I highly recommend that. Don't skip out on those. definitely wear layers if you're going during the winter because it will be cold outside, but then you'll get hot on the trains and underground, especially if you're shopping and around a lot of people. So thin layers are your friend. Also, something that I sort of regret from my trip is that I saw a lot of snacks that I would have loved to bring home from local grocery stores, but I didn't get to circle back and purchase them. And when you purchase like packaged snacks and desserts from more gift shop, souvenir type places, they only carry kind of like the nicer brands. So it's not that they won't taste good, but they're kind of more on the fancy end, which is nice to experience. But I wish that I spent more time just buying local, like inexpensive snacks that people at home would eat more on a regular basis, kind of like our equivalent to going through a grocery store aisle and getting potato chips and stuff. So definitely check out the local supermarkets as well. I think that's a great place to just buy snacks and souvenirs. I'm all about the food, so I am sad that I didn't get to do that, but I did find so many gummies and chocolates, sweets between all of the souvenir gift shops at the airport, as well as in places like Don Quixote and Daiso. So that was super fun. I feel like Japan just has so many snacks and food experiences. It's very overwhelming because you want to do everything, but there's so many people and then you kind of feel overstimulated. So take it easy. If you are planning on going to Don Quixote, by the way, go in the morning. Oh, some of them are open 24 hours. So if you go really early, you can beat the crowds and you can just shop in peace when it's quiet. So we ended up there because of our jet lag at like 6 in the morning. It was so quiet. We basically had the store to ourselves and it made shopping a lot easier. But by the time like 7 o'clock rolls around, it starts to get crowded and it gets hot, it gets overwhelming, it's hard to go through the aisles. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on having a big shopping day. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, you guys. Here is everything that is either restocked or will be in stock very soon. So I'm restocking the Duck Off and the Trying My Best Turtle sticky notes. And I also have 2 new ones joining the family, the Nugs Not Drugs, which I'm so excited for, and the Circling Back to Your Ducking Nonsense. I have been in a mood with my energy. I feel like I drew all of my angsty, frustrated designs while I was on vacation mode. So I made the sticker first. I felt like I needed a sticky note. Not sure how it's going to perform, but I think it's fun. And for Stationery Club, we're going to have the acrylic painting guinea pig stamp sticker and the Adulting is Soup and I Am a Fork design. So those are for Stationery Club for March, and it comes with a matching art print, and the sticky note is a guinea pig one. I'm really excited for it because you can still see all of the acrylic textures. I edited the design and kind of manipulated it to move them around. I think this is a chunk and then that is another chunk, and it was super fun and kind of like rewarding, challenging to figure out the format of this. So I hope everyone loves it. This is a painting I drew over a year ago. A lot of you guys wanted it in a product and I never really got around to editing it, so I thought it was perfect for spring approaching, and it kind of still has a wintry energy because of the shades of blue in it. So I picked that. So that's the bundle for March if you guys are interested. Everything will be up individually very soon as well. The freebie sticker of the month is this Your Unbelievable Shamrock Ghosty, and every order in March will receive this sticker as a freebie while supplies last. I also put it up individually in the main store at Gem & Cozy in case anyone just wants to purchase it for an extra, a friend or family member, whatever it may be. So you can order more if you'd like. Just know that if you place the order in March of 2025, then you're gonna get one for free also. This little guy dropped the other day and I wanted to give him a shout out. My back hurts and I hate the government. It's a little wiener dog. I was so excited to connect the dots with this quote and this sticker concept because I was like, what animal or what concept would represent this quote well? And I was like, a wiener dog. So I had this like light bulb moment. It was really exciting to put it together. You guys have responded very well to it. So this guy is available, and I would love to make a series out of it and have other designs, like one for like tummy aches and knee pain. Maybe everything hurts. I just need to figure out what animal or concept to pair with it. So if you guys have any fun ideas, let me know. And if you have any other questions about Japan, also let me know, because I will be sharing a lot more videos in the future about it, and I will do my best to answer as many of your questions as possible, because I know how hard it is to plan like a really big trip. It can be so intimidating, and doing research is one thing, but I think hearing someone else's experience just makes it a lot easier for you to kind of figure out like what you need to do to prepare. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you next time.